my name is Raine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to do the 2021 April wrap-up. The first book I'm covering is The Wedding Engagement. And so this is a story about a man and a woman who meet in an elevator. They're trapped in this hotel and, they're getting vibes. And he's like, hey, I know this is crazy, but I need a date to a wedding. I just broke up with my girlfriend and I don't want to roll up in there solo. What do you say? And the girl, she a little desperate, and so she says, okay, why not? Just to get my feet wet. I've not been in the dating pool for a while. And from that, romance blooms. That said, I don't think it was that great of a romance. And so for that reason, I have to give this book 3 out of 5 stars. So let me tell you what didn't work with this book. It's a black woman and a white man, and there's some tension there, some like racial tension, and the author didn't convince me that was gonna work out. Like, the problems that she was facing with his friends and everything else, I was like, ooh girl, you need to leave. You need to leave and don't look back. And oh no. I'm like, most black women would have dipped. Honestly, the relationship wasn't that great. At a point they broke up and they only got back together by chance. And then at the end it was like, and they lived happily ever after. And I was like, did they though? Is that, because that doesn't seem right. That said though, even though the entire time I was like scoffing and like content wise I might have scored it 2 out of 5, it was a romance book and I did enjoy reading it, and for that reason it's 3 out of 5 for me. The second book I'm going to cover is Accidental Engagement, and I'm very excited to review this book because I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Oh my goodness, it was so good. I think it was like the characterization. So, getting ahead of myself, let me tell you what it's about. So, it's about this baker, and she meets this guy across the hall, and she's actually supposed to be engaged to him, but she's like, I don't like my parents setting me up with some random man I don't know. And then he meets her and like he doesn't know it's her, and so he has like alcohol and he's just like, oh, come by later. And then she's like, oh yeah, sure, my name is this. And he's like, oh, could you forget that we had this meeting? I'm so sorry. I don't drink. This is an accident. And like, just from that scene, I knew I was gonna like this book. And so they fell in love like naturally, but they're like, nah, we're not gonna admit that. And so it's kind of funny that it's called The Accidental Engagement, because they're like getting engaged and not getting engaged. And oh my goodness, it's just so great. And when I tell you the characters are great, the author went in on this characterization, okay? And the book basically follows them as they enter this baking competition, and to enter this baking competition they have to pretend to be engaged, and it's just like really funny because she doesn't want to tell her parents because she's like, listen, you're not gonna get the best of me, but at the same time she also wants to win this baking competition, so she's just like, we should pretend to be engaged. And oh my goodness, it's just a mess, and it's a wonderful mess to read, and you just have to 5 out of 5 stars. It's the best romance book I've read all year and last year. It's just like, it's up there. It is up there. Accidental Engagement. Read it. The next book I read this month is The AfterLife of Holly Chase. If you remember, that was actually on my March wrap up. I was halfway through. I finished it this month and it went downhill. I'm not going to lie to you. So when I started, I was like, I projected a 4 out of 5 stars and ended on a 3 out of 5 stars just for the ending. Unfortunate. Anyway, let me tell you what it's about. So there's this girl named Holly Chase, and she's kind of awful. Just factually. And she's so bad, she's visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future. And they're like, you're a bad person. You should change your ways. And she's like, haha, F you, no. And then she dies. And so that's why it's the afterlife of Holly Chase. And she works at Project Scrooge and tries to help other people from making the same mistakes that she did. However, she's still kind of a Scrooge because treatment, it really just never took. So you're like watching her help people, but also she's still not great. And it honestly leaves a lot of room for growth, so you get to see her character arc over the book. I definitely think it's like a character-driven story, And all the while the plot comes in when she is trying to reform this guy named Ethan, and he's just like her. So she's 17, I think, and he's also 17, and he's handsome and she's beautiful, and I'm not sure it really goes deeper than that because she's shallow, like I said. Anyway, she kind of like is falling in love with this guy. I guess she's just really interested, and as she learns more about him and his past, they grow closer together, even though she is dead, so she definitely should not be trying to get with him. Yeah, it gets messy. It does. But it's really interesting, and I really was enjoying reading it. And for like the first 4/5 of the book, I was like, this is amazing. And then that last 1/5 got me. But it's okay. Like I said, I did enjoy reading it for the most part, and I would recommend it to people, especially for like a fun little holiday read. The next book I read was Guinevere Deception. And so this book was like, I've been seeing it on Goodreads and it's been blasted out to me, and I thought, oh, it's gonna be really good. And I read it from the library very casually. And there was a hold on it and I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, I guess I have to read this book. I guess it's gonna be like all that. And it wasn't. It wasn't. Like, okay, so Guinevere Deception, I don't even know if I have a rating for it. I guess I should rate it 3 out of 5 stars. In my heart, it kind of feels like a 2 out of 5 stars, but I feel like that's a little too harsh. Anyway, in Guinevere Deception, there's this girl, and she's going undercover as the Queen Guinevere, and she's marrying Arthur, because this is set in those Arthur times. I don't know what you call them. There's Mordred, there's Lancelot, there's other people, and she's supposed to be like this amazing, like, you know, kick butt, taking names kind of character, and she's not. She can't, like, she's supposed to protect him from this great evil. She can't find the great evil, so she's just like following her hunches, but you know, there's nothing to be found, and all the while she's like forgetting things in like a really crazy type of way, and I guess there's something going on with that. And honestly, I almost DNF'd, which is rare for me because I never DNF'd. And that's because I think it went on for over 100 pages and nothing had happened. She moved into the castle, and that's about it. And then she also went to the market. That's crazy. I can't read a book with only 2 different locations. First of all, like, oh, it was so boring. Oh, it was so boring. Oh my goodness. I think I like binge read it just to get it over faster, and I was just like, faster, faster, faster. Nothing happened. Nothing happened for so long. Oh my god. I can't recommend this book. Oh, I can't recommend this book. I totally see where the author was going with it, and I see how it could have been something great, but it wasn't. And just, I guess, spoiler alert, she didn't end up protecting Arthur, really. It was a wash. It was a wash. Like, imagine Mulan if she didn't change China and you didn't really like her character. So, that's how it felt to me. Anyway, next book. Alrighty, we're halfway through the video, which means it's time to review the book that everybody's been raving about, The Secret Life of Addie LaRue. I read this book, and from the time I opened it, like, I read the first page and I was like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be amazing. I was like 4.5 or 5 out of 5 stars for sure. And I mean, the premise is just really great. It's about this girl who just wants more from life. She feels completely and utterly trapped. There's this phrase in the book that's really powerful. She's like, blink, a week's gone, blink, month's gone, blink, a decade's gone, blink, half of your life it's gonna be gone, blink, you'll probably be dead, right? And you really get the feeling that she feels trapped. And so she ends up making a deal with the devil for more time. She just wants to live and not be bound to anyone. And the devil says, okay, sure. And he does this by granting her eternal youth and immortality. Sounds good. The only problem is that no one remembers her. So as soon as they go to sleep or as soon as they leave the room, she's gone from their minds. And she has to deal with that and the fact that she can't really form relationships with people. I mean, she can form relationships with people, but not long-lasting relationships. And it's like a very, very sad 51st date kind of situation. Like I said, premise amazing. In terms of plot, I wasn't feeling it. In terms of romance, was not feeling it. It was It was definitely like a slow burning type of story. And I guess that would have been fine, except the romance wasn't that good. So I'm just reading this like slow burn, mediocre romance. Was not the best. Yeah, definitely not for everybody. I definitely see why some people have been like, why is this book getting all this press? I do get it though, if you're the kind of person who ponders, you know, the meaning of life, and you like things that are extremely bittersweet, and you don't really like to smile while reading. So this book could be for some people, but it's definitely not for me. It honestly reminded me of wine that's too sour. You know, the kind of wine where you're like, this is good, and then you spit it out. Or chocolate, when you like really dark chocolate, but then they take it way too dark, and you're like, this isn't good anymore. It tastes like poop. That's what this book reminded me of. As I kept on reading, the rating just went down and down and down. And my final rating is 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read was One of Us is Lying. This book was really, really good, and I don't know if I'm giving it too high of a score just because I enjoyed it so much, but doesn't matter. 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. So this book follows 4 high school students, and here's the story. 5 students went to detention, and one of them ended up dead. It is a murder mystery, and so you have to figure out who's lying. It's kind of like Breakfast Club meets some book that involves solving a murder, and you're following a jock, a cheerleader, the brainiac, and the rebel. I just love all the dynamics at play here. I don't want to spoil anything because this is definitely a book where you do not want spoilers, but it was really, really good. And you end up getting attached to like every single character and understanding, you know, where they're coming from. I really want to emphasize that it was like Breakfast Club, because if you've watched The Breakfast Club, you start out and you're kind of like, why am I watching this? And by the end you're like, that was such a good movie. And that's how I felt about this book. And honestly, the twists and turns really got me. I really, really liked it. Highly recommend. The next book I read was a West African inspired fantasy called Gilded Ones. And this book was really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't anything special per se, but I really, really loved the world building, and I really loved the characters. I fell in love with the main character and all of the supporting characters, and I just enjoyed reading it. It's about this girl named Decca who lives in this village as like a kind of outsider, and she wants more than anything for her blood to be red, because people with gold blood are considered bad and people with red blood are considered good, because people with gold blood are stronger, faster, they have a really hard time dying, and all of these are seen as bad qualities. So when her blood does inevitably run gold, she has a choice. She can either face being tortured in her village, or she can choose to join the Emperor's army. And spoiler alert, she chooses to join the Emperor's army, and this is like a journey of, I don't know, self-discovery, self-acceptance, and, you know, learning to see herself as good. For me, that's the main draw of the story, but I will say that like there are all these trials and tribulations along the way. There are 2 really surprising twists at the end that I love, and there's also a little romance thrown in. Overall, it's just a really enjoyable story, and I highly recommend that people read it. The last book I read was a finance book. I read 1 or 2 finance books every single month, and this month I read The Dumb Things Smart People Do With Their Money. And this book, from me, gets 1 out of 5 stars. I didn't like it, and you know, it probably should get a higher rating because it had some really good information in there. But no, I didn't like it because I don't like Jill. Jill is mean. Jill is insensitive. Jill wrote this book, she is smart, but I don't like her. And I don't think you'll like Jill either. She is rude. I just had like a, there was a vibe I didn't like there. She was like, call me Auntie Jill. I was like, I don't like it. Anyway, don't read it. If you want to know what the book covered, and I think she goes over 13 mistakes that, you know, people can make. If you want to know those 13 financial mistakes, you can go to my finance channel where I cover everything that was in that book. But don't read the book. Don't give her your money. She don't deserve it. No offense, Jill. I'm sure she's a great person, but I don't like her. So that's it. Those are all the books that I read for April. Thank you so much if you made it to this point. I really appreciate you, and I will see you next time. Bye!